All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 4 of the Songwriter's Journey, and today I entitled this one Worst Moment as a Songwriter, and I will get into that in a little bit. Also, today I want to talk about our subscribers, subscriber comment, and then definitely my worst moment as a songwriter. So, first off, the channel now has 10 subscribers. All of you who've done that, I thank you very much. I'm grateful, excited, in disbelief. Thank you for joining me on the journey. I hope more of you will indeed join me on this journey. So please click like and subscribe. Help out the YouTube machine and myself, and that would be awesome. I received a subscriber comment. Well, I don't know that he's a subscriber or not. I had a discussion outside of YouTube about the channel with some folks, and one of the guys watched the videos and provided me some very great insight. And I wanted to share that because I thought it was very relevant. And he says in commenting about the channel, at least so far, the point of view of the channel is not entirely clear. There's a vibe of, hey, I'm brand new at this and coming at it from an outsider perspective. Join me on this journey as I try my hand at this and learn along with me as I go. He continues on, that sounds like an engaging concept for a YouTube channel and one that many people, including myself, would likely find interesting and useful. However, yes, the dreaded however, that's not really the vibe I got when watching the actual videos. Here it comes. I saw more lecturing and sharing your own knowledge, as well as almost dropping the names of famous songwriters you've worked with. Instead of the scrappy, we're all in this boat trying to figure out this crazy industry thing, I felt it more like, let me show you how much I already know about the industry and tell you about all the cool people I know too. Well, alrighty then. I thanked him actually for the comment, and I felt like he had a really great point. And so I wanted to talk about this because I've told you this. My channel's unfiltered. I don't really try to hide anything. And I thought this was just a great comment, and I can totally understand why he would feel that way. So let me address a couple of his concerns. I've been doing this for roughly about a year, and I actually wanted to start this channel last fall. Um, so where I live in Florida. We had a hurricane sometime around the time I actually wanted to start the channel, and we were displaced from our house for several weeks. We were actually out of town. Hurricane came, and we couldn't get back for 2 weeks. So I was roughly away for a month. The house was fine. I mean, our roof damage, we're dealing with that, but the house was livable. Everything was good there. So that was one thing. And then holiday season rolls around. And then very early this year, my wife was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. She's doing fine. No need to be concerned, but we did have to deal with that rather expediently once we found out. We knew she was having health issues. We'd been trying to figure that out for about a year. We didn't think it would come to that, but it actually did. And so we ended up having to travel across country and spend several months out west, Midwest, for her treatment, because that was the best place for her to get treated. So that happened. And then we get back, and then I have to deal with the house because our roof that we are going to fix. Just a lot of things happened. And all this time, I'm trying to write songs and everything. And obviously, there are more important things in life. Making sure your loved ones are okay and all that. And so for me, this year has been a very hit and miss time in the songwriting. But there is a lot I've been able to learn during that time, and I do want to share that. And I found the challenge in doing the YouTube channel is how do you come off as being legit, you know, when you're really a nobody in the industry, right? And I was having this discussion with him. I talked about like there are other channels out there that I follow. Like I'm a bit of a guitar nerd, if you can't tell. Where right, the camera's backwards. Sorry, over there. Um, and so like channels like Ask Zach, Homeschooling by Tom Bukovac, and that pedal show. I don't know if you know any of them or follow them, but all these guys have street credibility. I mean, they've been in the industry, they've been at it for a while, and then at some point they started their YouTube channel because it seems like a cool thing to do. For whatever reason they did it. Not passing judgment. I mean, I love all their channels. But obviously these guys have experience and you watch their channel like, oh yeah, they're great. And for me, I'm not really, haven't been into the industry, I'm just getting into it. And it's like, part of it's like I really want people to watch, and I want to share what I have learned because I feel like the things I've learned are very useful for somebody who's starting out. But it goes through your mind: is anybody really going to watch it? So there's part of that. So I think in my discussion with them, it's like, how do you come across, in a way that's authoritative is not the right word. It's not really what it's about. It's about like, hey, this information I believe is good, and it's useful, and that I'm serious about doing this. even unfiltered, even part of the backdrop, like of my equipment here, you know, part of that is to indicate, like, hey, I'm very serious about this. I've invested in some really good stuff. And it's not that the gear, I know this comment's coming somewhere. It's the gear doesn't make you good. Good gear reveals how bad you are so that you can become better. You can start out on inexpensive stuff, and then as you grow as a songwriter, you really need the better stuff to reveal the deficiencies in what you're doing. And that just comes in time. And, as I mentioned early on, I think in the explainer reel, I mixed live sound for 10 years. I helped build a studio, so I do have somewhat of a background. So, part of my concern in doing the channel is just like, hey, I really want people to know that, A, I'm serious, and what I'm sharing, I believe to be good. And a lot of it right now, I'm playing catch up, I think, on this last year of all these things I've learned. So I don't want it to come across lecturing. I'm going to work on that. Don't always realize how I come across. I don't really edit these videos. I shoot them and then I post them because I really want this channel to be raw and genuine and and real and unfiltered, because that's how I feel like songwriting is to me. And so I want all that to come across. I don't want it to be this polished thing, because it's not. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of things that go wrong, which I'll talk about a little later in this episode. And I want all that to be a part of the channel. The good, the bad, the ugly. So there's that. He also talks about the name dropping thing. Again, part of that goes to, I want people to know that, I am serious about being a songwriter, and I'm working with some very good songwriters. They're mentors, right? I don't work with them, I don't write with them, but I submit my stuff to them and get mentored by them. And it's a group I'm a part of that I pay for. It's not free. And I pay for it, and it's really helpful to me. My wife is a very strong believer in, if you want to accelerate yourself into an industry, pay for the education that will accelerate you into that. So mentoring is a great way to do that. Think of it as guitar lessons. If you want to play guitar, you take lessons. You can learn it on your own, but you'll have to figure out a lot of mistakes as you go, and then, correct those down the road. But if you take lessons, you figure out the mistakes quicker, faster, you overcome them, you move on, you grow faster. So I pay for mentoring. They're wonderful people, and I don't drop the names because there's a very important thing in the industries. Like, a lot of it is built on relationships, and I've had it described to me as it being very organic. Like, even my trip to Nashville, I ended up meeting somebody who's a friend of a friend. Like, I was going to Nashville. I had a coworker from tech industry that I work in. She lives there. And I was like, hey, do you know anybody in the music industry here? I'd really like to talk to them. That's just kind of how it came about. And, I met up with him. We had breakfast, and we just hit it off. And he's full-time in the music. I'm writing as I can because I work full-time in another industry. But we're going to be songwriting together. And so the industry happens very organically, and those relationships are organic, and they happen naturally. And part of the not name dropping is really about protecting relationships and people you work with. It's just not something, I don't think it's cool to do. Like, if you know somebody famous and you just talk about it just for the sake of talking about it and getting the attention. It's not about that. But there is this element of, like, hey, I am serious about this, and I'm really going after it, and I'm, working with some people who've blazed the trail and done this and been doing it for 20, 30 years. But, I'm not dropping the names. It's just not something that I don't think is cool to do. I will never do it on this channel unless I have permission. And, just not something I plan to do anytime soon. But I will often mention those, when things happen or stuff that helps. Like, hey, this songwriter really thought this, or, something like that, So we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to do my best to not be a lecturer, not do that kind of thing, and just share with you what I learn as I go. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I'm very grateful to this individual for providing the criticism. Obviously, it helps me, and hopefully helps make the channel better as well. Now, about my worst moment as a songwriter. This comes from a mentoring session I had. So this was a little early on in my mentoring. I think I started it roughly a year ago, almost a year ago. And I'd had a couple mentoring sessions, and they were good. I can describe them a little laid back. I mean, it was just fun, kind of hanging out. But we talked about my music and what I was working on, and they gave me tips and pointers and everything. And that was the first several mentoring sessions. And then there was this mentoring session. And so I show up, I'm on time, but I feel woefully unprepared. I'd not really spent time before the mentoring session kind of getting my head around what I wanted to talk about, and the song I was working on and all that. I didn't have a recording for him and all that. And wonderful gentleman, very accomplished pianist, um, and a gentleman who has perfect pitch. Um, so I come into the session. He goes, "Well, okay. So why don't you sing to me like what you're working on, and and give me an idea of what the melody is?" And I try to sing it, and I fail miserably at it. And he goes, "I have perfect pitch, and I can't tell what key you're in because you are in every key there is." And singing this, oh, it was a very humbling moment, and I have nothing against him. I think he was totally correct. But it was just one of those moments that I will probably never forget. But it's also the moment that I learned, a very important lesson is don't come unprepared to like a mentoring session, or even working with somebody else. Come prepared. And along the lines of songwriting, you'll hear a lot. If you go to a co-write, have several ideas or titles or thoughts ready to go. You just don't show up with an empty notebook. It's something you never want to do as a songwriter. Um, so that was a wonderful moment. And since then, I've made sure that I'm prepared for stuff. If I don't have, a recording ready, then I make sure that I've at least rehearsed it a little bit so that I can do a viable example of what I'm working on. But overall, the mentoring's been wonderful. It's really helped me a lot. And apart from the challenges with life, it's definitely been an accelerant forward in the songwriting thing. So that's what I want to share today. I hope you enjoy this channel. If you do, again, please like, subscribe, and please make comments. Let me know. Good, bad, ugly criticism. I take it very well. I'm not worried about it. I know what I'm going for. So take care and thank you.